Are my fellow board members ready? I can see you both. Wave to me.
We're ready.
Torrance, wave to me. I see you. Okay, we will call this meeting to order. Thank you everyone for being here. And we're going to start with the public hearing on our fiscal year 2023 revised budget number 1. Is that Mr. Hegarty or is Ms. Purcell doing that?
Good evening, President Berrigan, board members, Dr. Sprout and guests. My presentation on the revised budget will be very brief. The revised budget revision must be adopted prior to December 15th every year. This revision mainly includes revised growth estimates and changes in our carryover. Amounts were based on an estimate at a point of time and before our annual financial report was completed. Our estimated carryover in capital increased by $2.4 million due to projected expenses coming in lower than expected. Issues with the supply chain caused some capital items to be received in the new fiscal year. Our maintenance and operations fund decreased by $0.9 million. A decrease is typical for our revised budget since we overestimate to accommodate for any legislative changes that can impact our override calculation. Knowing this, the district did not commit to any expenditures at the higher budget amount. Between the two major funds, the total net was an increase of around $1.4 million. We will do a final revised budget in May to reflect any changes in our average daily membership. And this concludes my presentation. I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Purcell. Any questions from the board?
No.
Any? I don't hear any. Thank you, Ms. Purcell, for that presentation. Okay, we are calling the official part of the meeting to order. We will begin with roll call, please. Here, via technology. Here?
Here.
Here.
Okay, if you can all please stand with me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I am going to put myself on mute because I know the delay can be confusing. And Ms. Anderson, if you can lead that there in person, I'd appreciate that.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
second.
And motioned and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to the approval of the minutes of the November 9th meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion carries. Dr. Sprout, your superintendent's report, please.
Thank you, President Berrigan, virtually, and governing board members. Next week, the entire Levine staff family, we will be celebrating our school grades that were released on November 1st. These grades were the fruits of the hard work and dedication of every staff member and represent the impact that we, the governing board, has had in the lives of students and each other's lives as well. In recognition and an expression of thanks, each school and department will have a district-sponsored lunch at their site next week. In addition, we are providing every staff member with our new Find Greatness Here t-shirt, and we have shirts for the governing board as well, and staff and board members, especially if you work in other school districts or other places, please wear your shirts on Friday, December 16th. Did you hear that, Ms. Berrigan? Okay, so.
I did. I'm in.
One more time, let's give our staff a round of applause for their great accomplishments. Every year, the Levine Lions sponsor a peace poster competition, and every school in the district is invited to participate. One winner is selected from every school, and an overall winner is selected to represent the Levine Lions Club in future competition. This is also a chance for us to feature our art program and to thank our art teachers as well. And we have students here that were their school winners as well as their art teachers. And so we have some people that are out. So I will be reading the school student winner and then the teacher if they are here. So we're going to start with Levine School and Sir Dorian Harkness, student. Congratulations. And we'll get a group picture in just a moment. And we also have a representative of the Levine Lions Club here, Lion Valeria Delgadillo. If you'd come up here and you'll join us in the picture as well. So representing our club. Next, from MC Cash, we have student Felipe Valenzuela. Here. We do have teacher Jennifer Kuster, who is here representing MC Cash. From Trailside Point School, we have student Micah Lazoya. And also from Trailside Point, art teacher Megan Winter. From Desert Meadow School, student Sarah Lopez. And art teacher Stacy Hedrick. From Estrella Foothills Global Academy, student Natalie Lucero. And art teacher Sydney Wild. From Paseo Point School, student Ava Villa. And art teacher Bailey Thomas. And our district winner, student from Vista del Sur Accelerated Academy, student Sienna Rapaz. And her art teacher, Lori Baxter. So Sienna's artwork will go on to the district competition, and we wish you all the best. And I believe that is, Sienna, that is your artwork up there. So that was the winning for the district. Again, this gives you a picture of the great work that is done with our art teachers and their students I was just in Ms. Wild's class yesterday. It was so exciting to see what our art students are doing. Also, our partnership with the Levine Lions Club, and we appreciate the Lions and how they have, for so many years, participated with us in supporting the arts here in Levine. So let's give these students one more big round of applause. We have our backup photographer here tonight, our Chief Financial Officer, Kevin Hegarty. So if the meeting goes a little slower, we'll blame it on Mr. Hegarty. We hosted another highly successful Winter Festival last Friday evening, raising approximately $10,000 for the Levine Education Foundation and providing a fun and safe gathering for our community. The Winter Festival is a great tradition here in Levine, and thank you to all of our staff and all of our families that came to make this a very special evening for our entire community. The Special Olympics Field Day was held on November 16th. Students from across the district participated in various activities such as soccer, bocce ball, Connect Four, bowling, and giant Jenga. Students from Cesar Chavez High School volunteered their time to assist our amazing staff and students with this exciting annual event. Members of the Arizona Cardinals visited Cheatham School last week to enjoy milk and cookies with a few of our classes. The Milk and Cookies reading program selects one school across the state each week during the football season to visit and encourage students to read. Ms. Mendez's third grade class and Ms. Herman's first grade class were beyond excited to be selected this year. Big Red, Arizona Cardinals cheerleaders, and Arizona Cardinals player Coda Martin stressed the importance of reading before sitting down to read some of their favorite books. It was definitely a day our students will remember for a lifetime. Levine Elementary School welcomed second grade parents and guests in October and first grade parents and guests in November to their books and breakfast events in the cafeteria. Parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles joined their children for breakfast and then read books together and completed some fun table activities. Students took home the books to expand their home libraries and encourage future family reading. The South Mountain and Levine Chamber of Commerce recognized 12 community leaders at a holiday mixer on December 2nd. Congratulations to Governing Board Clerk Fern Ward and Representative Marcelino Quinones for receiving the Educational Leadership Award for supporting educational institutions and our organizations in the South Mountain Levine community. Congratulations, Ms. Ward. Local nonprofit Trees Matter planted 40 trees at MC Cash School and 25 trees in the surrounding Cash neighborhood last weekend. The beautification project was held in partnership with Shining Light Foundation and Councilwoman Yasemin Ansari's office. All right. So one of my responsibilities is to visit the front lines of our district, and that would be our classrooms. So each year I visit virtually every classroom for a few minutes to see our teachers in action, the best part of my job. Being in 400 or so classrooms a year helps me to see how we can best support and celebrate our teachers. These are announced visits, so they do know that I'm coming, but once I get to the school, my path can be kind of random, so no one knows. I don't even know until I get it all figured out which class I'll be in next. I do hear a lot of things from students. One is that I am tall, that I dress nice, and I have actually been called the president, so that's been pretty sweet. But yesterday's visit to EFGA had a hilarious moment. When I visited Miss Underwood's kindergarten class and they were reading this brief story. Now, they didn't know I would be in there at this moment, but here's the story they were reading. Go ahead, Butch. So as I go around campus, I guess I am now Dr. Jeff, the spy sprout. And I was laughing to myself and trying not to disrupt the classroom, but they pretty much nailed it. And but this is not about me. This is about Ms. Underwood and the tremendous impact that she and our teachers have had or have in the lives of our students. She took students to the point of reading this story. These are kindergarten students, and answering these questions in less than 2 quarters. So thank you to Ms. Underwood and all of our teachers from all of our staff and all of our staff. This is what it is about, leading students to learn something new every day. And you know those days, they add up and you end up with these kind of results with kindergarten students. Let's give our teachers and our entire staff, this is what we are here to do, a round of applause. Our first employee of the month is Denise Scott. Ms. Scott is not able to be here tonight, so we are going to recognize her at the next governing board meeting. And I just wanted to get her picture up there, but we will have her back in January, and we're looking forward to celebrating with Ms. Scott. Our certified employee of the month is Irving Barraza, self-contained teacher at Desert Meadows, special education self-contained teacher at Desert Meadows. Mr. Barraza diligently guides his students of all backgrounds and abilities to achieve excellence in their academics. He instills high expectations in all his students so that they become independent and critical thinkers. Mr. Barraza constantly seeks out new ways to support his students by collaborating with different staff members and families. Not only does he support his students, but he also supports our staff, and he is a great source of knowledge for classroom management and academics. We are lucky to have him at Desert Meadows and a member of the Levine staff. So please join me in congratulating SPED, self-contained teacher at Desert Meadows School, Mr. Irving Barraza.
We're so lucky to have Irving on the campus at Desert Meadows 3 years ago in this very room. I first met him and we hired him at one of our job fairs, and he just does such an amazing job with our CPE program. These students, many of them have been self-contained for most of their education careers, he's able to just ensure years, make it a learning environment. We're considering to transform and transition into the mainstream. Usually by the time classes are engaging, exciting. Matter of fact, when Mr. Thomas and I came into his classroom the other day to announce to students that he was a recipient of this honor, we had to wait for 15 minutes because they were so engaged. So it's really an honor to great job. I have student services, right? Everything is just that. One of the finest honors an educator can have is the respect of fellowship. When I had the opportunity to share his good news with counselors this morning, with speech and language college yesterday, with special ed teachers earlier this week, to a T, every one of them singled out why he was excellent and deserving. It's a high honor to get this award, but to have your colleagues single you out and praise you for it makes it all the better. So congratulations.
And your family, congratulations to you as well. Here for the family. Next, we have our monthly classroom spotlight, and this month we are featuring Levine Elementary School. So I will turn it over to Principal Dr. Robert Kaplinger.
President Berrigan, members of the board, Dr. Sprout, it's my honor to stand before you this evening as principal of Levine Elementary School and have with me here tonight an incredible teacher and some amazing 7th grade students. Tonight we're going to be talking about engaging students in focused learning conversations. At Levine Elementary School, we plan and teach with intention. We do nothing by chance, we think things through, we're strategic, and we make deliberate instructional choices with each and every student in mind. Because we know that hope is not a teaching strategy. We're not going to just stand by and hope what we're doing is working. We are going to be strategic and thoughtful in everything we do. To do that, we turn to research-based practice. One of the theories we've talked about at Levine for the last several years is Vygotsky's socio-cultural theory of cognitive development, which from a helicopter view talks about how social interactions of students influences their cognitive development or learning and how important it is for students to work together. Staying in the zone, a concept out of that theory is the zone of proximal development, or ZPD, something that most all teachers learned about in their teacher education program. But this is something we talk about a lot at Levine Elementary School because that is where growth occurs. So again, in a nutshell, if you think of a sweet spot where learning occurs, you have some things that are too easy for kids. You have some things that are just too difficult, they're not ready for yet. And in the middle, you have this zone of proximal development, which is where students can achieve with just a little bit of assistance, and that is where the academic growth occurs. Here's a visual example with our cafeteria manager, Chris Madrid. If you think again of that sweet spot, to the left, things you can do on your own, far to the right, things you can't do yet, no matter how much support, but in the middle, things you can do with just a little bit of help from a teacher or a capable peer. In the last, I'd say about 10 years, the term productive struggle has become popular. And that again is that sweet spot. And it pertains more to an individual student and not jumping in and helping students, but letting them struggle through and experience that struggle to achieve academic growth. But in regards to the zone, we believe that students benefit from social interactions and by working with capable peers, working together. So if you look at both of those ideas, the zone of proximal development is talking about that collaboration and how important it is for students to work together and learn from each other in a classroom environment. So tonight, we're going to be talking about how to engage students in those social interactions and how that benefits their learning. So tonight, I'm pleased to welcome our 7th grade language arts teacher, Alicia Harp.
Hi, thank you, President Berrigan. Thank you, board members, and thank you, Dr. Sprout, for having us. Also, thank you, Dr. Kaplinger, for selecting our class for this opportunity. So one thing that we talk about in order to help our students be prepared for the real world are having those authentic interactions with each other. And with those authentic interactions, they're going to learn success and they're going to learn to find that they know a lot more than they might think they initially do. So looking at the LOI, it's not in order to just be proficient, but in order to be highly proficient, students are engaged in authentic, focused learning conversations and collaboration. And also they're able to build on each other's ideas, thoughts, textual evidence, as you'll see tonight. So obviously, you know, we all want to get highly proficient, so we want to focus on that and engaging our students as much as possible in their ZPD. So one way that we are able to do this is using consensus maps, which you're going to see tonight, where students begin working independently with their thoughts and ideas, and in order to figure out where their claims are and their perceptions lie, and also to be able to support with evidence, both paraphrasing and using explicit evidence from text that we read. So with consensus maps, you have 4 students who serve in each quadrant, 1 student per quadrant. And you'll see tonight we also have a scribe who is able to also engage in that conversation and serve as a peer support as well. And those 4 students will begin independently and move towards collaborative conversations to where they'll eventually come up with a consensus on the topic at hand or the guiding question at hand. So in order to do our consensus map for tonight, this quarter, we've been reading We Beat the Street, and it is a study sync novel that I selected for our class. It's a nonfiction narrative that our students have been working with, learning, analyzing, and I do have a copy for you guys, as well as you'll see tonight our students are working with it as well. So in order to learn a little bit more about We Beat the Street, I'm actually going to have Jeremy Ogman come up to give a quick summary and a quick opinion. So here's Jeremy Ogman. So tell them a little bit about We Beat the Street.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Augman, and today I'm going to be telling you about our book, We Beat the Streets. In this very nice novel, We Beat the Streets, you will learn how we have 3 main characters, George, Ramek, and Samson. These 3 characters will come up with some pretty hard problems, but with their power of friendship, nothing can hold them down. And without further ado, this is the book, We Beat the Streets.
So in order to plan accordingly, one thing that our students need to be able to do, regardless of the text that they're reading, the topic that they're researching, they need to be able to cite relevant textual evidence to support their thoughts, opinions, perceptions, claims, whatever it is they're saying. And then with the consensus map that we did today, we focused on our I-7-3, which is analyzing how particular elements work together and they impact and influence one another. And supporting with that textual evidence is really where it lies. So our success criteria in order to assess my students for mastery of the standards as well as proficiency, we create a success criteria based on their learning intentions. So students are able to analyze Ramek's situation and his history throughout the entire novel to determine whether or not he should have charges pressed against him for something that occurs in one of the chapters that we're going to focus our consensus map on. And then also students can organize their opinions and their claims in a graphic organizer using evidence from the text to support their claims. So our guiding question that we focused on was in chapter 17, Ramek he's faced with an issue in college at Seton Hall, and instead of handling a situation one way, it goes another way, and he accosted a student. So they needed to determine whether Ramek should have been charged with accosting the student or he should receive a second chance given his history. So the academic task was for students to create the organizational chart, as we've started to do now, to show why or why not Ramek should have charges pressed against him, but more importantly, to support that with evidence from the text as well. So we are, without further ado, going to have our consensus map discussion. So I'm going to call up Jeremy Ogman, Kamani Dia, Ayana Johnson, Cassandra Nelson, and Luis Gomez Perez. So what we have already begun is, because with consensus maps, in order to participate in an authentic collaborative discussion. You need to know where you are. Now, where you are might not be where you end up, as you'll find out with the consensus maps, but it gives you a conversation starting point and an entry point, if you will. So the quadrants, you can either number them, you can do them multiple different ways. You don't have to start at number one. For the sake of our activity today, we are going to start with student one and go from there. So Jeremy is going to be our student one. And again, the guiding question is, should REMEC be charged with accosting the student?
No, I do not think that Ramesh should be charged because he was not taught how to think before acting, and his impulsive behavior can get him in trouble a lot. And he feels regret and sorrow when he slammed the boy. Do we have a consensus?
I would like to add to this. I agree because text in the text, the mother caused being aware made him think. They said it was in chapter 17. So, make it 14.
Do we have a consensus?
Yes.
And then what you'll see is our scribe writing down on the consensus map. If they do agree, they will add it to the consensus for the further class discussion. And then we have student two, Ayana.
He has done it for his family, also his sister, so they won't have to struggle with money. For example, chapter 5 talks about how he got money from his mom for pursuits that could have led him to be an actor. So instead, gave him the money to his mother because the electricity was out and needed Mecca, his sister, cold milk and fresh food. And his mother made him feel guilty for having money to use himself. With consensus. Yes.
Yes.
All right, student three, Kamani. And student four, Luis.
I think Ramesh should be charged. At some point,
All right, so what you'll see is our scribe continuing to fill out the middle, the consensus portion of the consensus map, which will lead our groups to have a deeper understanding, but then to take what they've learned in their group to engage in a whole class discussion where one group's consensus might not be the same as another group's consensus. So to further deepen that understanding and could potentially lead to further research as well in other texts that we'll explore as well. So we'd like to thank you for watching us do our consensus map. And I also just wanted to take a second and thank my students for taking the time to be here, their parents for taking the time to be here tonight, President Berrigan, Dr. Sprout, and Dr. Kaplinger for the opportunity to just take a peek inside of our classroom to see what we do on a daily basis. So thank you guys so much. Oh, just kidding. Just kidding.
And parents, if you'd like to get a picture, please feel free to come up.
So Governing Board, a lot went into a wonderful presentation. First of all, parents, thank you for bringing your children to Levine Elementary School and for trusting us with the awesome responsibility of working with them day in and day out. And we thank you for your support. I remember the day when Ms. Harp was hired, and I want to say thank you to her for her investment in our students. Our students, that's the future right there. And it's pretty exciting to see students working at that level, and definitely gives us all hope for your future and all the things that you are going to do. There's another piece of this, and that is having excellent curriculum for our students. And this story is just one example of the many things that our students have an opportunity to encounter in their learning process. And over here we have our executive director of curriculum instruction, Dr. Tracy Watkins, who oversees all of this curriculum selection, and this is what all of our students get throughout this district, and it's because of our community support and our governing board support that we have everything to help our students to be successful. So let's give everyone a round of applause. And President Berrigan, we'll turn it back to you. If you can you see the next slide? There you go.
I can't see the slide, but I can see the agenda. So is it
Okay.
following the agenda?
All right. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But before we go on to that, I just want to say to our parents as well, I appreciate you being here and sharing our kids sharing your kids with us. It is always such a treat to get to see what they're learning. And I think sometimes it's even eye-opening for parents who don't, really get to be in the classroom every day and see and experience what their kiddos are doing. So I hope that helped enlighten you and make you very proud of your kids, because they're doing incredible work. And just thank you for being here, for celebrating with us this evening. So next on our agenda, a recognition of a governing board member. That board member is Mrs. Fern Ward, who would probably rather we didn't say a darn thing about her tonight, but that's just too bad, because we do have some things that we want to share with her. I would just like to start simply by saying how much I appreciate you and how much I have learned from you over the last 4 years. I don't think many people know this, but if you were to look at Fern and I and, our backgrounds on paper, you may think that, oh, they may not get along. But this is what I have learned from Fern, that for most of us, we are not as far apart on issues as we think we are. And that it is always important to have those conversations with people that you may not think you see eye to eye with, but you will learn that you actually see things much closer. And I think that that is particularly true when there are children involved. And when all of us on this board, Mrs. Ward, as well as my other fellow board members, believe that the children are the most important thing and that we make our choices and decisions and support based off of doing what is in the best interest of students, we all really come together with that. And that is what I have learned from you, Fern. I think you have been a wonderful contributor to this board, as I have learned much from you, and our other board members have learned from you as well. And appreciate being with you on the board for the last 4 years. And I know that you continue to support our community in other ways, and just appreciate you so very much. And with that, I would like to turn it over to my fellow board members. We'll start with Ms. Anderson, if you would like to share anything as well.
Well, I think you used a lot of my words, but I do want to thank you, Fern, for just your leadership on this board and just within our community, being involved in so many areas. It's very clear that you are very passionate about this community, and so we just appreciate your willingness to serve in that capacity. And also, I just want to thank you for it's just a pleasure to have collaborated with you over the past 4 years. And I too, as Jill, have learned a lot from you and have also been able to learn with you. And so that's just been a really great thing. So this isn't goodbye. We will still see you around here in this community. So.
Absolutely. Dr. Watkins, would you like to share anything?
I'll say probably the biggest reason why I'm up here is because of Fern. She reached out to me and said, I think you'd be excellent on the school board. I've always been passionate about education, but I guess Fern saw something in me that we believed I would be level-headed and made sure we made the right decisions for our children. Being a minority and coming from inner city Chicago, I wanted to be a part of something to show these kids that we can be anything, and we need to start showing them that we can evolve to greater heights. And Fern saw something in me 3 years ago. I've just been blessed to be a part of this great group, and it's just been a joy to be a part of this group. So I thank Fern for seeing something in me to allow me to join this group.
Thank you, Dr. Watkins. And I think Dr. Sprout has some thoughts he would like to share too.
Yes, I do. Thank you, President Berrigan. In case you're wondering, Fern is at the meeting. She's that little box over there, and so Fern can hear everything. She's not able to be here with us tonight, but Fern, in case you don't know, Fern has been active in this community for many, many years, celebrating this community and advocating for this community. And for the last 4 years as a governing board member, that has continued. And so Fern, speaking for the staff, students, and families of our district, thank you for your leadership and support. Think about this, in January 2019, when Fern went onto the board, this world was a different place. 2019, some of us don't even remember 2019, but it was a different place. And thank you to Fern and all of our governing boards who have guided this school district through unprecedented times and done so in unity and doing what's best for our students and what's best for our staff. And so thank you for that, Fern. And, Levine has come out of the last 4 years more steadfast and more successful than it has ever been in the history of this district. And your leadership, as well as our fellow governing board members, is the starting point for all of that happening. And so thank you, Fern. And please do not be a stranger. We have a gift for Fern that I think we're going to go to Mimi's El Forno and have lunch, and I'll give it to you there. But we do appreciate you, Fern, and thank you so much.
Fern, would you like to say anything, my dear?
Well, no, but yes. First of all, I think this is my second board meeting in the 4 years that I've missed. Most of you know, my husband is going through getting chemo right now. And he is one of the rare 3%ers who has a reaction to where he stops breathing. So I'm kind of scared to leave the house until he gets that out of his system. That's why I'm not there, but I'm here. So thank you. It's been an amazing 4 years. And like Jill said, I have learned so much from you guys, and we are so much alike. And if you keep your focus on the kids, you can't go wrong as long as that's your focus and it's your only focus. So it's been an honor to represent the community. I think that with those amazing words, I'm glad I'm not there because I would have ended up in total tears. Oh, this is a blessing. I look forward to seeing the trajectory that our district sets. And I will see you guys around. I'm not going anywhere. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Fern.
Okay, we are going to move on in our meeting. If our families are still there, we're just to let you know, we're moving on to the business portion of our meeting. You're certainly welcome to stay for that. But if you would like to leave and go celebrate your kiddos or do what you need to do, please feel free to do so. So we'll move forward then onto the consent agenda. Do I have a move? Are you telling me to wait a second?
President Berrigan, let's give a moment. We got people leaving.
I forgot about that part. I can't see them, so I forgot about that part. Thank you. to the consent agenda. I wanted to stay through this item. Do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And Dr. Sprout, would you like to say anything?
Yes, thank you, President Berrigan. I would like to offer our congratulations to Estrella Foothills Global Academy Principal Sarah Zimbruski, who will, beginning on July 1st of 2023, be our new Assistant Superintendent of Academic Services. Congratulations, Ms. Zimbruski. Thank you, President Berrigan.
Thank you. Congratulations, Ms. Imbruski. Very well deserved. I know Dr. Sprout is excited. He says that not only does he and his executive team have complete trust and support for you, but that all of our principals have a great deal of respect for you. And that's incredibly important moving forward in this position. Unfortunately, I have my third board meeting of the day to get ready to go to now. So I'm going to turn the running of the meeting over to Michelle Anderson since she is there in person. I certainly wish I was there with all of you. I'd like to wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, a Happy Hanukkah, and celebrate whatever else you want to celebrate in that time because it is certainly a time to celebrate right now. We've got lots of incredible things happening. Ms. Anderson, I'll turn it over to you with the action items. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Great, thank you. Good night. All right, we'll move on to the board action item. So, nope, okay. So it's a recommended action. The governing board approve the fiscal 2023 revised budget number 1 as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, then the next action item is the governing board approve the Candle and Partner Agreement between the Levine School District.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Next up, the governing board approve the revised stipend schedule for fiscal year 2023.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And then we have an action item for the governing board to approve the new student services coordinator position.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and now moving on to the transportation presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. May I introduce our esteemed Director of Transportation, Eric Kissel.
All right, well, members of the board, I guess Ms. Barragan, President Barragan has moved on, Dr. Sprout, Ms. Perez, and all of our guests. I'd like to say that it's an absolute honor and certainly my pleasure to have an opportunity to share with you a little bit about the department that I've had the honor to serve under for the last 10 years. So let me make sure I can work this. You know, many would say that we're a little bit loud. That's for sure. Most would say that we rattle a few windows when we roll through the neighborhood. And I would certainly argue that we're a really good balance between professionalism and someone crazy enough to load 3 classrooms worth of children on the bus, turn your back and drive down the road. And honestly, I'm the guy that I'm probably the biggest fan. My job is to serve that group, do everything I can to get them the things they need. I serve as the Director of Transportation. I've done that here since July of 2013. And then prior to that, I came into the industry in actually February of 2003 in my prior district. So I've been doing this for a while. But to talk about our group today, we roll about 225,000 to 250,000 miles a year. That'll vary here and there. And that also gets reported differently. Often you guys just see the report, but we only use 25 points of data in that report. So you just see, it'll be around 225 to 250. We serve approximately 20 to 25% of whatever the overall number for the district is. I know I was calling Dr. Sprout at the beginning of the year and saying, "Ooh, we got a lot more kids, count on us having a lot more riders." But that usually is around 20, 25%. What that consists of is to from transportation, trip work, extracurricular sports, clubs, really anything that we're asked to do. We do that within 3 bell times. Each of those bell times is only 30 minutes. I lost my biggest champion for that being a big deal, and Miss Barragon, she always defends me on that. A 30-minute split is a tough time in which to get that job done, but our group does a great job on most days in most events. We max out about 30 routes on the road at any our peak time. And then who we are, what are we made up of? 34 drivers. We have 2 open positions right now, 1 in training position that's currently open. 11 associates, a specialist, a lead mechanic, a dispatcher, 3 trainers and director. You'll see me checking my time because I made a promise. Not a bet, a promise. Also, a little bit more information. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to get it. Another thing, a little bit about us is over the past decade, we've doubled the size of the fleet. We've doubled the number of employees. We've moved physically 3 times. We're going to mention later, we lived through two 100-year floods about 4 months apart. I don't know how that math works, but 2 100-year floods. And we survived a pandemic. We added technology, not just in the buses, but in the office. We adopted PBIS as a department. We were the first I understand, in the world to do so, actually. They didn't know of anybody non-school that had done that, and we're pretty good. We could be better. We're working on it. And all of our staff that touches children are all CPI certified. So a little bit more about the fleet. In 2015, we had 22 buses. Today, we have 46 buses. Then that's actually changed. The dynamic has changed from, it's now almost an even split between special needs and gen ed buses, which was quite different from when I first came on. We also have 3 activity vans that are used for other events and so forth. And then our department also purchases and supports basically all the rolling stock, which would be your white fleet. Some of that is a motor and a license plate on it. We currently have 23 support vehicles as well that we support that are non-bus. Bottom left corner, something I'm really proud of in my 10 years is we brought in landscape dumps for the landscape crews. I would argue that drastically reduces labor, makes them more efficient. Hopefully they love them. In the middle, you have one of our first that I know of, refrigerated vans. They refer to that as Lucy. And you have, those would be special needs buses, but obviously we have a whole bunch of those. One of the things I would say also, there's over 48 of us today, and that's of 51 positions. Now, with that being said, 48 of us today out of 51 positions. You know, I can tell you this, the support we get from HR, bringing in, helping us get people in, you know, the support of our APs and our principals as far as retention of those people once they get here. I am extremely proud to say we have 48 of 51 here today. I'm proud to say we haven't missed any routes in our schedule that I know of, unless somebody has something to tell me. We haven't. There's always an email when I get in the morning, but we've met all of our requests. So some I'm very proud of and very appreciative of, and so many people make that happen, whether they realize it or not. Levine has to be a great place, and our administration, our school administrators, the job they do plays a big part in whether or not people stay once we get them here. So I'm going to go through this a little quicker than I would, but just some examples of our community outreach and the work we do or participate in. These are from Winterfest, from Springfest, from the parade in February, normally each year. Just some examples of the crew being out there. This one I like because if you look in the bottom right corner, somebody actually came and she was really thought we had a cool presentation and decided she would work with us, and that's our own Jamie Camacho there, working alongside of us. That's Diana Weon captaining our John Deere tractor during one parade. We're very proud. She's been here well over 30 years. So we gave her that honor. I mentioned floods, 100-year floods. Here's an example of what we were dealing with when most were just having trouble getting to and from work those days. Our building flooded, and we worked in about 4 or 5 inches up to our ankles in water that entire day. And of course, those drivers who went out and operated in that environment. So I would argue we really went through it those couple of times. And then this second picture I only included because if you look in the back, when I talked about moving 3 times, of course the building flooded and we needed a little bit of renovations. We went back into the old DO. So anybody that's been here for any amount of time, we went back into the old DO. And the funny thing was we were happy to be there. It was actually not too bad of a setup for us. So, but then we had to move back into our building once it was remodeled, and we thank you guys for that support. And I failed to mention too, when I say thank you guys, when we talk about driver retention and recruiting people here, the support of the board and pay salaries, capital support, M&O support, we can't do this without you guys, and you guys have been amazingly supportive through my time here, and I thank you guys. Also, I mentioned a pandemic. This is a picture of what social distancing looked like when you're trying to hand out awards. To the right is also a disinfectant gun, and again, our board supported. We wanted to spray after every run, every time we came empty. Not after the morning, not after the afternoon, not once a week. Every time we drop and we go to another neighborhood. That wasn't cheap, but our board supported putting one of those guns in each one of the driver's hands, and I think we had a superior mitigation to most districts. Plus, I also want to thank Julie Carson in purchasing, who, when we started doing that, she went out and actually found a grant for about 2 years of chemicals to support that as well, and which is great. We probably saved about $45,000, $48,000 with that effort. During the pandemic, you'll see here that we were asked to send messages out to the students from home. And I also want to point out, this is EFGA's costume came in one day, and they thought they talked to one of our drivers, wouldn't do it. That's actually Ivan Vager went around and danced around EFGA. I don't know if you remember that, Sarah, but that isn't a student or something like that. That's a bus driver running around dancing all day. During the pandemic, when the public was being fed, we were the drivers of that. We went and loaded the food, the employees went out. And this is actually an officer who just came up and said, "What are you doing in the neighborhood with this big crowd?" He thought it was really cool, asked for a picture. The embarrassing part is you can see the masks all being used in that. I mentioned PBIS and CPI. So PBIS is those things that we want to do, encouraging the behaviors you want to see and supporting a lot of that, and it's kind of helping teach how to ride a bus. CPI, of course, is when students are having a bad day, how do we respond, recognizing those behaviors and then appropriate responses to those behaviors. We're very proud to be part of that. And then mention technology. That's routing, GPS, student tracking, trip planning with e-requests so we don't exchange paper out to the schools. These are some of the companies that we're currently doing that with. Also here, I know it means nothing to you, but we use the Thermo King air conditioning system. We're one of the only school districts in the valley. I would argue it's a superior system. We make our vendor do that for us. I'll go through that install process, and we probably carry more BTUs than most. We make things cooler better. We don't get a lot of arguments in those. And then that's our fuel management system. When I got to Levine, it was padlocks and a clipboard that if the wind blew, we had no history of fueling. So over here, I'm running out of time. So over here, digital radios, digital two-way, the button in the middle. So the button you see in the middle, that's the child checkmate system. We added that right after I got here. Physical, if the stop arm's deployed and shut, bus powered off, driver's got to go to the back of the bus in front. That's to make sure that we don't leave somebody unattended on our buses. And again, our board, once again, supporting that, and our public, supporting that we put those in the buses. Top right is our newest thing. We added fully lit LED school bus signs and stop signs. So we don't just have two blinking lights in low light. When our bus is sitting there, it says school bus, and there's an illuminated stop sign. And I say that makes it safer for our kids in low light conditions. Got a picture of a lift gate, all of our utility trucks for our maintenance guys. all have that. I mean, they don't have to load augers and generators by themselves. They can load it by themselves, not safely, but they're not lifting them up over a tailgate of a truck. And again, we appreciate you. And then the camera system, I just wanted to point out the fact that we now have, you know, a 7-camera system on a 35-foot, 8 cameras in a 40-foot. And then lastly, as my thing's starting to go off here, we know the future is in front of us. We're gonna have to make some decisions about whether we go EV, alternative fuel, and what that looks like. I'm confident we'll do well with your guys' support. And we also know we're growing, people. We're still in the stage where we're gonna be adding bodies. So obviously we know the facility's gonna have to grow as well. Honestly, I could sit here and talk all day about it. I have a huge amount of passion for this stuff, but I will spare everyone and merely stand for questions. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions from the board members or comments? Have none? Well, thank you. Thank you for all of your organization in that. I see a bus go by my house or turn on my street every morning, so usually I try to wave, but you know, I could either be coming back from a run or going to work.
Oh, we're good.
But yeah, thank you for putting the safety of kids first and foremost and getting them to school. So
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
A few weeks ago, I got an email from one of our principals saying thank you to our transportation department, because not only do they get our kids around the community safely, but one of our bus drivers spotted a student walking along the street, a younger student who decided, rather than riding the bus, that they would walk home that day, and didn't really estimate what that meant, and was alone on the side of the street. A bus driver saw that student, immediately swung into action, and it was wonderful to celebrate that with the transportation team the other day. And Eric represents an incredible group of 48 employees, and we are so thankful for them. And so once again, a round of applause for our transportation department.
All right, so then moving on to, do you want to say something now?
Yeah, we just had one more quick announcement. The state of Arizona canvassed its election, and the election results are in. And in the back of the room there, we have governing board member-elect Linda Abeg. So congratulations, Linda.
Okay, so are there any comments from the board?
Just have a wonderful break. The winner from Vista that did the artwork, I'd like to have a permanent home for it at my office once she wins her awards. That would be great to have in my front lobby. Thanks.
Vern, do you have any additional comments?
I do not, except for thank you, everybody, for everything.
All right.
And
thank
have
you.
a happy holiday.
Thank you, Fern. Thank you for everything that you have done on this board. And I also just want to thank you to all of those involved in planning and organizing the Winterfest. It was a great evening to see lots of people and be able to catch up with even old neighbors, and just a great time. So thank you for all that organization and all that setup and cleanup and all of that great stuff. Looking forward to next year. And then as well, just enjoy your Christmas break, and we'll see you next year. And congratulations to Linda Abeg in joining our team. And then we have a regular board meeting held on January 12th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. here at the Levine Education Center. So now we are ready to adjourn the meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good night, everybody. Enjoy your holiday.